Alright, Introduction to Anatomy Part 2 notes. This is the second time I'm recording this. I'm not sure what's going on in the background. I hope this wasn't the same as bad as the first one, but there's a bunch of that static noise. I'm thinking it's the cheap microphone inside the computer itself. Anyway, the organ systems we're going to discuss, just in general, which you should know for the test, are integumentary system. That's your skin, your hair, your nails. The integument, which covers us, protects us. It basically forms a little shield to keep bacteria out. You have to get through the dead layers of skin. It helps for temperature regulation, with the superficial blood vessels releasing heat, and the sweat glands releasing sweat, and the little goosebumps raising hair follicles. It prevents water loss, because it is solid. And vitamin D is started there with the ultraviolet light hitting the cholesterol and the superficial blood vessels. The skeletal system is the bones, the cartilage, and the ligaments. Ligaments attach bone to bone, and bone helps protect us, supports us, helps us in movement so we're not like an amoeba. Blood cell production takes place in the bone marrow, and fat is stored in the yellow marrow, and minerals such as calcium and phosphate can be stored in the bone itself. Muscular system. Muscles attach to bones by tendons. Most muscles, but not all, do attach by tendons. Functions for movement, posture, and, of course, giving off body heat. Lymph system, which is part of the immune system, contains lymph vessels. They are found throughout the body. The lymph nodes, tonsils are a specific type of lymph node, is where a lot of the bacteria and virus infections, when they're attacked by white blood cells, they're gathered there at the lymph tissue to help clear it out of the system. Your lymph also not only removes foreign substances, but it also helps fluid balance. So when you have released water from your blood to bathe all the cells, that water has to get back in the blood. So it gathers in the lymph tissue, and then your muscles squeeze it back out, the lymph tissue back in the blood. That's why it's good to get up off the couch and walk around a bit so your ankles don't get all swollen from all that lymph tissue. And also fat absorption in the small intestine. Respiratory system is breathing air in through your lungs by way of the nasal passage, the pharynx and the trachea. Its main function for oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange from the blood and the air, and also from the cells in the blood. And helps regulate the pH of the blood itself. Digestive system includes the mouth, the esophagus, stomach, the intestines, and the organs shown in the background here. Now the mouth is considered part of the digestive, not the respiratory, because they don't assume we're mouth breathers. So the functions are to break down the food. Food is then absorbed into the blood, and solid wastes are eliminated from the colon. Nervous system contains the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. Notice, regulatory system is an asterisk here. The nervous system is one of your two major homeostatic regulatory systems. Okay, so the nervous system includes the brain, which is the control center of pretty much everything. The nerves, they're pretty much receptors, let you know what's going on. So they pick up sensations, and they do control movements. The endocrine system is the second big regulatory system. See how down there it's highlighted, a little asterisk next to it. So on your introductory packet, the two main systems in charge of maintaining homeostasis would be endocrine and nervous. Now the endocrine is through the different glands. They secrete all sorts of different hormones. For growth hormones, metabolism, reproduction, you name it. So the nervous and endocrine are the two main regulatory systems that help maintain homeostasis. Cardiovascular system. The heart, the blood vessels, the blood. Functions there, transport of nutrients, waste, gases, hormones, the immune system's transport. And it helps regulate body temperature. Urinary system. The kidneys, the urinary bladder, ureters, and urethra are involved. Its main job is to remove waste from the blood, maintain the blood pH, the ion balance of the blood, and water balance in your blood so your blood pressure is good. Reproductive systems. And the reproductive structures are the ovaries, the vagina, uterus, mammary glands, testes, penis, accessory organs, and ducts. Again, the main function is reproduction and producing hormones for sexual development. Alright, the terminology. Here's that part of the notes you said wasn't on there. It's on here now. And I apologize. Anatomical position. Every doctor in every nation imagines and envisions the patient in this anatomical position. That way, when you're discussing it, you see your patient in this position. So superior is up to the top of the head, inferior is down to the toes, posterior is behind, anterior is in front, lateral is to the side, medial is the middle, distal is away from the shoulders and the hips, and proximal is closer to the shoulders and the hips and your appendages. So there's basically your body must be erect, standing straight up, arms at the side is positioned, palms are facing forward, as you can see in the background, head is facing forward, and feet are facing forward at shoulder length. Those are the 5 criteria for anatomical position. So if on the test I should ask you which of the following is not part of the anatomical position, and I said feet together, that would be your wrong answer. Directional terms. We've practiced this in the introductory packet, and now you can see it in some notes. Right and left, pretty much self-explanatory. Superior and inferior. Superior, up to the head, top of the head. Inferior, bottom of the foot. Anterior or ventral refers to the front of your stomach, or your belly button would be anterior to the rest of everything else. Posterior or dorsal is the back. Your buttocks is posterior. The dorsal fin of a shark is posterior. Medial and lateral. Medial is towards the middle. Your sternum is medial to your chest, to your pectoralis muscles. Lateral, your latissimus dorsi muscles are lateral and dorsal. That's why they're called latissimus dorsi. They're lateral to your sternum. Cephalic refers to your head. So cephalic is where your brain is stored, inside your cephalic region. Caudal is tail. So if you're referring to your tailbone, for example, that's caudal. And it's more in quadrupeds, caudal refers more to the tail. Proximal and distal, we practice this, hopefully you've understood it. It mainly deals with the appendages. If blood has to travel further in one thing than another, it is distal. If blood travels closer, it's proximal. So my elbow is proximal to my hand. It's closer to the shoulder. My kneecap is distal to my hip, but my kneecap is proximal to my foot. It's closer to the body than my foot. Superficial and deep. Superficial is on the surface. Deep is clear to the bone marrow. So the bones are deep to the muscles are deep to the skin, yet the muscles are superficial to the bone. And then here's some diagrams, which click, it'll help you go through these. Pretty much straight from your book. And these arrows, I understand they throw some people off. The arms are distal and proximal. The proximal just means if you're closer to the body, it's proximal than something far away. Body planes. Sagittal is right down the middle. Well, mid-sagittal is right down the middle, but sagittal is anywhere splitting left and right halves. Frontal, separating front from the back, and transverse or cross-section will be chopping across, such as cutting a carrot into little round circles, or laying your hand flat down the cutting board and slicing out the tips of your fingers on down, making transverse or cross sections. So if you look at this one, the sagittal section, which I thought was labeled, but it's not, is that one separating left and right halves. The frontal section would be your next line, which separates the front from the back, and then your transverse or cross section is going right across his belly button there, separating his top from his bottom. So longitudinal would be like taking a hot dog and cutting lengthwise, put it in a hot dog bun to fill it out. Transverse or cross section, taking the hot dog and chopping it acrossways to make beans and weenies. And oblique is how they make French green beans. They cut them at an oblique angle. It's the French cut. Here's a diagram to show you. The top one is longitudinal. And it didn't pop up. On the PowerPoint, you run through it yourself. It should pop these up. The bottom left is your cross section, and the bottom right is your oblique. The abdominal regions, we'll practice this again. Right hypochondriac, right is under the patient's right side. To you, it's on the left because you're the doctor. Hypo is under chondriac. Think of chondro as cartilage, and the part of your ribs up there are cartilaginous. So you've got bone and cartilage, so the ribs can move. Epigastric, epi means upon, gastric is stomach. Left hypochondriac is on the patient's left side. Hypo under, chondro under the ribs. Down the middle square, umbilical region is right over your umbilical cord or your belly button. The left side is left lumbar region because that's over the lumbar vertebrae. Right lumbar region is down by the right lumbar, okay, vertebrae are down the middle, but the lumbar vertebrae are right in that section there. Below the belt, hit below the belt, hypogastric. Hypo means under, gastric, stomach. So below the belt, you're hypogastric. Left iliac region refers to your hip bone there, which is your ilium. So your left iliac region is over your left ilium. Your right iliac region is over the right ilium. Start studying now for the test next week. That way you're not cramming at the end. It's not good to cram. Study every day. Homeostasis and fat cat negative versus positive feedback. Homeo is Greek for similar. So your home. Stasis is active condition of standing or static. You get the word static electricity, standing electricity. So try to keep your home static. Try to keep your temperature the same. Try to keep your blood pressure the same. Try to keep your percent of oxygen the same in the blood. So it's the existence and maintenance of a relatively constant environment within the body. Freshman biology answer. Variables are maintained near a set point. So your variables would be like your body temperature, your blood pressure, your percent blood oxygen. So what is set point for body temperature? It's about 98.6 degrees, give or take. The body detects an internal change and activates mechanisms that negate the change from set point. That's called negative feedback, because it negates a change. It maintains homeostasis. Our body uses negative feedback to keep us healthy. Negative feedback is actually good in homeostasis. So the components, the receptor, would be monitors that value the variable. So monitors that measure the variable would be such things as your nerves, your hot and cold nerves detect if you're getting hot or colder. Your baroreceptor, the pressure receptors, can tell you if your blood pressure is getting high. Control center is usually the brain in most instances. It establishes what is considered set point. Your body's amazing how it can figure it. You got to see it right at 98.6, and all these variables come into, all these different effectors come into play to keep the variable the same. So an effector is something that changes the value. For instance, we talked about when you get too hot, you sweat. Your superficial blood vessels are relaxed so blood can flow to the surface and release heat. When you're cold, you shiver. Your goosebumps, your rectoculi muscles raise the hairs on your arms, and that stops the wind from blowing away as much heat. And your smooth muscles constrict around the superficial blood vessels to keep the blood, most of the blood, deeper to the body so you're not losing much heat when it's cold out. So the body goes away from set point, negative feedback kicks in and negates that temperature change and pulls it back to normal level. The body temperature, again, receptor, thermoreceptors in the skin detect temperature. Control is your brain, and effectors are the sweat glands and superficial blood vessels contracting or releasing to release heat. So here's some examples. When it's hot, vasodilation is your superficial blood vessels dilating, allowing heat to come to the surface, making your cheeks red. Sweating, pilorelaxation, means your goosebumps go away. The hair is flattened down so you get more wind coming across, pulling that